Good morning, it's Harvey Jackson. Just going to get through some news items here. Sask soil, moisture, and crop fill. Depending on the crop stage here, we could see that there's going to be some premature drying. I'm sure the next crop conditions report next week that Sask Agriculture will put out very likely is going to show worsening conditions as the crop naturally matures. Same thing you see in the U.S. on their crop conditions as the crop matures. It doesn't look as green, and the 60-mile-an-hour drive-by there, it doesn't look as nice. So your crop scores usually go down because it's a beauty contest, right? And others have said the exact same thing, but I do believe that we're going to get some of these areas that are going to have some issues here. Another report that came out is world food prices hit a 3-year high in July as weather and war weigh, right? So I just want to remind, I had this reported a few months ago, but the grocery spend, so that goes back to the farmer. You can see that it's actually just 5.8% of every dollar spent is actually the farm gate. So I will get into the details of this article here, but just remember what they're quoting doesn't seem to follow all of this extra spend here. It seems to be quoting farm prices, and farm prices and this don't have to relate, actually, especially when you got transportation costs that almost went up substantially in the last few months here. So some of the key areas, there's a 3.4 month-to-month rise of the cereal prices. So they're saying the 5.8% jump in wheat prices is actually increased the food prices. Well, the raw commodity is only responsible for 5%, or 5.8% of the price increase. So I guess they got to amplify it all the way through to the end user. So, and it's the same all the way through here, but the commodity averaged 131.1 points in July, up from 130.3 in June, the highest reading since January of 2023. So, just to try to remember that the grocery spend here too. Indonesia rubber growers bet the farm on palm oil, so that there's a lot of lean to this whole renewable fuel and the energy security here. So, Indonesia, that's ramping up their renewable and biodiesel to take up a lot of the slack that potentially could slow down going into Europe with their still in place. And again, it's just like the Canadian government not removing some of their restrictions. Europe hasn't either, even though they've waived the deforestation plan, I think, 2 years already. So we'll see if they're going to do it this year. Jobs report will offer fresh tests for the Fed chairman. The job numbers are coming out today. And here's another report just talking about Karen Braun just talked about the shipping record for Brazil, and 4 million, it went to other destinations other than China, which is a big number.
This is really important, and we can see that the Liberal Party is very loyal to this issue of supply management.
Will supply management be sacrificed? Absolutely not. Is that confirmed? That is confirmed.
We're very competitive in dairy production and cheese, and the Canadians made a commitment to us under the USMCA to allow us access under certain types of quotas. However, in implementing that access, they have said you can only sell essentially to co-ops, which are owned by Canadian dairy farmers, who obviously have less of an incentive to get American dairy. But when you look at the EU, they allow EU dairy not only to go to those destinations, but they can also sell them to retail, to wholesale, to food service. That's the kind of access we expected out of USMCA and that we're not getting. And for us, we want them fixed.
Just make it fair. And Carney, his ethics commissioner, I think, and there's some history there, of course, with some of his close friends that are deeply invested in the dairy industry in Quebec as well. So, not to say that you got to get rid of it, but he's just even Greer here is talking about just fair access. So long range moisture, it appears that we're going to get some moisture there, and even in some in Canada here as well. So here's just the snapshot using the egg or the GFS model, and it does look like a lot of the problem areas are maybe going to get covered. But when you look at the map, you can still see that there's a huge build of drought in the West Plains here, and the two that I'm going to point out here is spring wheat and durum wheat. You jumped substantially. You went from 26 the previous week to 49% drought, and 42 in spring wheat to 58% drought. So that's a big jump. So a quick look at the markets here. Canola is up 560 at 774. Soybean oil slightly up. It's like the relationship of canola to soybean oil is not as strong as the canola to the soybeans here. So West Texas is slightly down at 76. So we're trading mid-range in the 70s here. Diesel fuel is slightly down, but there's still nothing is really getting resolved on that on the Strait of Hormuz either. Soybeans up 5 cents at 11.82. Spring wheat is up a penny. Hard red winter is up 3. Chicago's up 2.5. Milling wheat just slightly up as well. Corn is up 4 cents at 4.43. Canadian dollar basically tracking sideways here. So here we are. You can see that it almost looks like we got a little bit of a strength build here. We would actually probably have to beat that short-term moving average, get above it before we can actually say we've got lots of strength here. But we are trading right in the middle of the 100-day moving average there at the moment. European rapeseed trading above the 100-day and above the short-term moving average, so that's a positive sign. It does look like it's building some strength on the European rapeseed. Soybean oil, like I said, the relationship isn't as strong, probably until it gets in the bin, and then it's a depleting resource, and canola is going to be very important in the whole renewable biofuel problem in the U.S. Soybeans, nice. Looks like we've got some sort of a bounce here off of that 100-day moving average as well. Here's your palm oil. Looks like we're going to try to break out, but it's currently not trading at the moment. Crude oil still in this trend going down. The hope would be is to get back down in that $70 barrel area. The relationship for the oil versus the diesel fuel is not the same as far as we can tell here. But I just want to remind people of the forward curve. This is what we're talking when we talk forward curve. So the current month is on diesel fuel is $3.87 a U.S. gallon, and then the next month is let's call it 9 cents cheaper, and then another 9 cents cheaper. Like every month, it's a decreasing price. So if we can book the fuel, pay the price in the future at a lower price, and take advantage of it, use like a Fuel Nexus or a company like that that's allowing you to do that kind of stuff. Quick look at the Canadian dollar trend. It looks up, and it's depending on how the jobs numbers come and how pressure on rates and inflation, U.S. and Canada, that relationship is going to continue to weigh in and what the Canadian dollar is going to trade. Asian shares pause for U.S. jobs numbers, just basically the same what I just said here. Wheat, we've lost. It looks like we're full 50% retracement value lower, and it still looks like it's still in that downward trend. If we can bounce off of here, that would be a good thing. But that's kind of the area that it tends to bounce off of as well. So just needed to follow some of the technicals of the trend here. Here's your Kansas. We're down at that 50% retracement as well. Same thing with Chicago, actually going through the 50% retracement actually. And milling wheat beyond the 50% retracement, but there's still all kinds of problems. Harvest is going on in there in Europe right now, and obviously that wheat is coming to the market, so that's putting some pressure on there as well. Corn, and this is European corn, and this is the pause that we've got for the last 2 weeks, but the harvest is not over there either. Nowhere close to the same kind of chart that you're going to see on the U.S. corn. And August 12th is the WASNI report, and we've got our jobs numbers that are coming out today.